Well, thank you for joining us for another installation of the Contest Conversations here for the Word Guild in the 2020 Word Awards program. It is just exciting. The books that are being submitted, the articles, song lyrics that are being submitted, and scripts. And today we're going to have someone on, and you can already see here, we have Anne Cataruza, award-winning author.
Thank you, Sherry, for inviting me. I just want to add, I'm not an actress anymore. You know, I've quit 15 years ago.
Sorry about that. I'm not quite sure. I've never had that happen before, but my camera just flipped off. And anyways, I'm back here. Internet, I think, are the issues on some of these Facebook Lives. So anyways, but okay, so you're not an actress currently, but who knows what the future holds. But you have been a very well-known actress in the French world. So you're going to have to listen close, people, because Anne has a beautiful French accent, and she is representing our French part of the awards, Les Prix des Mots. And so you were an actress for a very long time before you became a writer.
I had a short career of around 8 years in the 2000 years. And actually, it's a long story, but God asked me to quit.
Okay, so well, that's a different thing. When God asks you to quit, you're
at the time. But I understood that He did that for my protection. And at that time, I didn't know I would go into writing, really, even though I did write my first script in 1998. So because I wanted to have an interesting role, you know. Because I was doing like a series, you know, like a soap on Radio Canada, and I had more meaningful things to say. So that's why. So I did write that script. But at that time, I was not a Christian. I was becoming a Christian. So it was not a Christian script. So it did just, I guess, even though it raised some interest, it did not end up being produced, and I'm glad now it did not, you know. So
God knows what to do, and it's amazing how He takes those things that we might not understand. How is this ever going to fit into what God's calling me to in the future? Like, it doesn't seem to, I don't know, you have these periods in your life where you're just like, I don't understand, God, why that happened, where something didn't, you know, come to fruition. But then if you just give it time down the road, you understand why God had you writing these scripts a long time ago. So we're going to get to that later on in the episode, in this interview, but we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves in some ways. But everyone, I want you to hold on to that thought, because there are so many of us, and you've experienced these times in your lives where you don't quite understand why something happened and then it fell apart. It seems it didn't work out, but God has a plan. You know, I just think of Romans 8:28, that God is working all things together for our good. Not that everything is good that happens in our lives, but He is working all things together for our good. And by the end of this interview, you're going to see how God took this, you know, radio show opportunity that fell apart and how God used it in the future. So, and you're here today on our Contest Conversations because, you know, I'm interviewing past award winners, and I'm going through all of our 2019 award winners. And last year, you won your second Word Award. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So you first won a Word Award for your very first book, and I'm going to try my French. So everyone, get ready. Here it is. À la recherche de Shada.
Perfect.
Oh, yay! So that was your very first book, and it released. You won. And what year was that? That was the
2016. Yeah. And
2016 Word Awards.
Yeah, and the Prix des Mots was just being created. I actually, I'm a big part of it, because I did call the Word Guild, and I said, I'm a French-speaking writer. How do we do to enter your contest? And at that time, there was Ruth Sorogo,
Yeah.
And she said, that's an excellent question. We're going to work on that. And that's how
Mm-hmm.
we created Le Prix des mots.
Yeah. You and Ruth were key to getting Le Prix des mots going.
Yes.
And it's amazing. And I'm praying that, God is going to use this interview to speak to people all around and get the word out that we do have options for French writers that are Canadian. So I just want to clarify, and maybe if I botch the French pronunciation of these categories, that you could help us out there, and maybe you could do a little bit of French translation. And I think maybe at the end of this, we'll do and invite people to enter that are French speaking. But so there's vie chrétienne. So vie chrétienne, that is Christian life,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And so that's for nonfiction Christian writing that is French.
Yes. There's a fiction and non-fiction books. We're not many in fiction, but I think many people and pastors and write about vie chrétienne, Christian living, or testimonies, and that can go into that category. And and there's a second category. I think I forgot.
Okay, so there's three categories actually: apologetics and evangelism.
Yes, evangelism. Yeah.
So apologetics, evangelism, kind of a more that category is for the deeper books, more educational in writing and style. And then the award that you've now won twice, fictives. So for fiction books.
Yes, fiction books. Yeah, clear. All kind of fiction.
Yeah.
I must say, even it's fiction, it's based on some events of real life. What I'm writing.
Okay.
It could be romance, it could be suspense, historical, whatever. It's only a one big. Well, not big, but I mean, the category that it's including all kind of fiction books.
Yeah. So the story of Shada, is this based on a true someone's life, or?
Well, it's based on one incident that happened out of many actually in Iran. Iran is actually a hot topic. So
yes, it is.
And but I that many but I mixed some. It's a character, but based on a real woman that actually got arrested and thrown in prison. It was not on the same subject of my book, because in my book she's a Muslim converted to Christianity.
Okay.
Sorry, I have a hard time with that word.
Christianity.
Christianity, yeah, got it.
We'll help each other out here.
Good. Yeah, absolutely. So it's not the same reason, but the reason was so just you could see it was not it was all made up, and just to make a case out of nothing. Yeah. And you don't have you cannot express your basically there, let's say that like that, and especially women, there's a lot of strength on women there, and I want to talk about women, and especially I wanted to put in place what's happening on a lot of women in those countries, and that are victimized and that are really. I don't want to put out the punches in my book, but a lot of things really, really horrible are happening, and we don't talk about it. And it's really about the persecuted church. I wanted to talk about that because there are many, many people out there. In those countries that are Christian and that suffer,
Yeah, I think that's amazing that, sometimes we think we have to write in the nonfiction to discuss these really deep topics. But I love when writers like you use the fiction format to actually draw people into discussions and to issues that are really deep. And, sometimes people read fiction just to get away from the real life. But you and others are so great at drawing people in and discussing these really important topics like women's issues and women's safety around the world. We are so blessed here in North America. And yes, we don't get equal pay. I know that. It is not perfect here in Canada. But around the world, for girls in countries like Iran, we just don't understand the struggles that they face. And so as Christian sisters, that we would, you're helping make us aware of the struggles and the struggles of the persecuted church. And I actually just did an interview last week with Beverly Rayner, who was one of the trifecta winners last year. But she wrote a book with Voice of the Martyrs, and is just a tool. And it's a book that she wrote about a true story, but included this whole fictional element to it, and that, like you've done. And so I just think that's really amazing how creative you girls have been to breach these really deep topics.
Mm-hmm. I just want to add that it's not a woman book.
No,
it's even though there's two strong characters in it, and it's really for all kinds of adults that actually has an interest in our world. And at the same time, it's very entertaining. It's a lot of suspense, like people always say that I write in a kind of movie style, like a very visual style. But I think that,
and we're going to get back to that point, aren't we?
I see like images sometimes, and that's right. And I see always that like a movie, even though it was a novel. Hopefully, maybe one day it's going to be a movie.
Yes, and we do believe that. And so we will get back to that point about Shada. But right now, I just want to talk about last year's win. So that was your win in 2016. But then last year, you released your second book that was kind of it's in that same series. And I'm going to try the French again. Okay, so Le Peuple Cachet.
Le Peuple Caché.
Yeah. Okay, there we go. Okay. So tell a bit about that book.
The Hidden People in English, but The Hidden People is not translated yet. So Le Peuple Caché is actually a sequel of the first one, Searching for Shada. And it's 1 year later, and it's happening in Peru. And it's, of course, I'm taking some background that is real at the same time. What I wanted to talk about was the Indian tribes, the non-contacted tribes that we don't hear a lot about. And there's one association that actually trying a lot to preserve them and help them out, which are the Survival. Maybe you heard of that, Survival. It's an organization, an international one, that actually tries to raise awareness about those uncontacted tribes that are just massacred in great indifference. And I wanted to talk about that too. But at the same time, there's love, there's suspense, there's a thriller, there's action, because I love action. It's not just it's not. I don't think it's boring.
I don't think you write boring. And definitely your life is not boring. The way you write is not boring. It's just, we had to delay this Facebook Live because your little guy just would not take that nap.
True.
And, I sent out the message and I did the hashtag real world problems. So for mothers that are writing that have young kids, it's difficult at times, isn't it, to carve out the time? So
it's a huge struggle, I have to say. Every time I want to do either an interview or work or whatever, it's not happening. Like I want to. So I have decided at one time, okay, I'm going to get up at 4 a.m. and I'm going to write. And just because I get tired, mom. And even though I love it and I don't regret it, but you have to balance, and it's balance because you want to give time to your kids and to your husband as well, and at the same time you feel called to do what God called you to do, you know. And like I have that third novel, which is actually going to be a sequel, and it's on my heart, and I don't have the space to write it, so I said maybe that's not the right season, but it's kind of again. So you have to respect those seasons at the same time.
So what kind of advice would you give to the mothers that have young kids that are trying to make a go at a writing career but struggling through?
Well, if they have the chance to have family, maybe they could actually ask their mom to, someone, or even,
ask for help.
Friend have help. I would say I don't have much help, just because we don't have any family here, so it's kind of hard, when you need the help, basically. So that would be my first advice, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. And I think that's really difficult. My personality, I hate asking for people for help. It's really an issue. It's been an issue that God has been working on in my life. And even right down to when I was in Bible college, I was
Yeah.
a class president. And then the advisor said, Sherry, I have one word for you: delegate.
Yeah.
And I'm still learning it. It's still
Yeah.
working on that. But yeah, I think that is a really great advice to give. So consider the seasons that you're in, and that it is a season that you've said, and ask for help. I think that's great advice. And one thing I'm thinking is, as we discussed when we were doing this, and is to lower your expectations sometimes. Is that things aren't going to go as planned. Your Facebook Live doesn't go right on.
Like this morning, for instance.
Yeah, not the end of the world. Yeah, like this morning. So I think, young mothers of young kids, give yourself a break. It's okay. But I think 1.2 is to follow the advice of Winston Churchill.
Season, because at some point I wanted to produce like a book at least every 2 years, or even if and I can't. It just doesn't work, And instead of being productive, it's about writing in what God, wants to inspire you. But it's okay. It might take 2 or 3 years. It's okay.
Yeah.
And you have to respect that,
That's right. Love on those babies, because they're only babies for a short while. That is for sure. As I have older children, that it passes so fast when you're in that moment. It feels like forever, but it does pass so fast. I know you have one that is older, so you get that. So you want to take advantage of every moment. And God is a God of different timing than us, and He knows exactly what's going on. So just relax, girls. Let things happen in God's timing. And in God's timing, I just think it's so neat. We're going to go back now to you had done these radio shows that some of them happened, and they were even shown in France, and which would have gone around the world. It's amazing what God did. But then you have these ones that just didn't go. But God had you in this training ground of writing screenplays, even though they were for radio.
No, so sorry.
Yeah.
Radio, it was actually for TV or movies,
Okay.
It was on Radio Canada, but I mean, it didn't. The script was written for for a feature film.
Mm-hmm.
But it was to actually write some role at the time. I guess it was no accident to become an actor, because God wanted me to know that world. And always kept me a heart for that world, even though, then He showed me that I was more into writing, more into novels. But I had always it's like I had a vision that I've been carrying since the 2000 years about, making movies out of my stories,
Yeah.
And
I'm sorry, I just had a little bit of a chuckle there in my mind, because you said for 2,000 years. And I think you meant since 2000. Because if you are 2,000 years old, you look so amazing for your age. But
it might be because I felt it was quite a long time.
Yeah. Long, Kathy Main said to me one time, long gestation, big baby. And I believe that God has a big baby that He's been growing inside of you. And I do see you, Lorna Dewitt calls girls like us, and guys too, but people called to ministry in media missionaries. And I do believe you are a media missionary. And so He has chosen to take your book, your first book, and now you made it. You wrote it in French, then it came out in English, and now it is a major motion picture screenplay.
Yes, not major yet, but
not well.
Let's.
We're going to say it is. We're going to say it is. Yes. So it is a screenplay that you've written, and it's going to be a major motion.
That's a screenplay co-written with my friend, my longtime friend, Kim Finney. Because she's totally more like English, so we did and she had that the same vision of seeing like a story out of my novel when it first came out, so we decided to translate it. It took like 3 years because it was like part-time where she was working, so it was a long process, and then we decided to do a screenplay. It took 3 more years, so it's always a long process. And as you already might know, that screenplay, Searching for Shada, has just been selected at the Keros Prize, and the Keros Prize is going to be held by the Movie Award, by the Movie Guide Awards on January 24th, and we have been invited to Hollywood.
Hollywood premiere. Like I will not premiere, I guess, but it is introducing for the first time this the script, and how exciting is that?
It's just crazy. It's just crazy.
That is so incredible. So I love what God is doing. And sometimes it seems like it's taking forever, and these dreams that God places in our hearts, but just like it's a child, let it grow, let it mature, let it become what God called it to be. And so we're going to call it what you know that God to be on screen, that God's put in your hearts. And so we look forward to one day getting a ticket to go to the movies and to see this on the screen. And just being nominated for the Keros Award is amazing.
Yes, I think what we need to do is actually nurture the dream, even though they're a long desert. I was discouraged so many times that nobody reads my book. You know what? And so I just wanted to quit, and I did quit for 6 months. But then, inside started burning again. I said, I need to write, even if one person, is interested. I need to write. And that's coming from God. That's a dream coming from God, because it's a dream wouldn't die, You need to nurture the dream to say, if it doesn't look like it's happening, it's going to happen. How God is going to do the divine connection, I have no idea. But now I'm starting to get an idea now exactly how I want to do things. Even close some doors in Toronto. Some people really, really, really believed in the thing, wanted to work with me, and God shut the door. But it kind of ordered some steps, so I was guided to submit to that competition I didn't know about. It's a Christian competition, so you need to have biblical principle in your book or in your screenplay. And then we were like 7 finalists in my category, which is newcomer. Beginner. And then we just learned that we were the 3 top finalists out of, I think it's around 500 screenplays that's been submitted at that time.
Very exciting. And I hope that you all know that we have screenplay categories, short scripts, long scripts for the Word Guild Awards. Go on our website, thewordguild.com, and then go on the contest menu. And under there, you will see the different categories and definitions. You can see the breakdown of categories, and then lower, there's even like breakdown of definitions and what, is expected for the short scripts or for the long scripts. So make yourself aware of those. If you have published something, let us know and submit. See the details on the Word Guild website. And we'd love for you to be the winner for one of our scripts categories in both the Christian and for the general market. So we have for both, not just for the Christian marketplace, but so you enter dependent on what your category is that you've written for. So very exciting what God is doing. I want to thank you so much for sharing all this with us, Anne, all the way from Quebec. And we have people listening on. I've been in the chat just a little bit, but we have people from Alberta. We have people from Ontario watching right now. And I know it's always seen more in the replay, but we will have people all across Canada that are, thank you, Carol. We're glad you're loving the interview. And she wants to say thanks, Anne. I'm not sure if you're seeing some of the comments that are going up there, but yeah, you'll have to check them out later and comment on them. But this has been a wonderful interview and so much great advice and encouragement for writers. If you're interested, you've written something and published in 2018, whether it's an article, a script, a book, a song, your lyrics, if you've written lyrics to a song, and you're a Canadian Christian writer, and whether your work is for the Christian marketplace or for the general marketplace, check out all our categories on our website. Submit by January 31st. That's Friday, January 31st of 2020. And then we're going to be announcing the winners live at the Word Awards Gala during the Right Canada Conference on June 6th. At Redeemer University in Hamilton. And we hope to have you all there and hope that maybe Anne can join us.
I hope so. I submit.
Yeah. Oh, that's exciting. So just a little plug there for that. And Anne, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us.
Thank you to you. Really,
well, that's great. Well, we hope you have a great afternoon and you join us again for all the contest conversations that are happening this week as we get excited more and more for the deadline that's coming up, and encouraging you, share these videos to help people know. And actually, as we close out though, why don't you just say a little French invitation to people for Les Prix des mots?
Alors, je vous invite tous les scribes en puissance, si vous êtes Canadiens, de venir de soumettre vos œuvres, fiction ou non fiction, à la World Guild avant le 31 janvier. Tous les liens sont sur le worldguild.com. S'il y a quoi que ce soit, vous pouvez aussi essayer de me rejoindre sur ma page d'auteur et ça me fera plaisir de vous aider.
Thank you so much, Anne. And I just hope and pray that you guys all share this, okay? Get the word out there. Help us out. Thank you.
Sure. Bye-bye.
Bye.